Alright.
So today we're here to talk about the rhinovirus.
First, Caitlin, I'm feeling kind of sick.
Well, that's just too bad. So Sheila is feeling sick because she has the cold. The cold is caused by the rhinovirus. So your first line of defense is your skin. This is a waterproof mechanical barrier that viruses can't pass through unless the skin is broken from a cut. The skin not only protects you against the rhinovirus, but it's a barrier between any pathogen and your body. Mucus is another first defense. It contains enzymes that break down the cell wall of many bacteria. What isn't killed is trapped in the mucus and swallowed. The nose, throat, and inner lining of the lungs and gut contain mucus to trap any pathogens. When the mucus fails to catch the virus, like it has with Sheila, the body senses the infection and triggers body temperature to rise. A rise in body temperature has the potential to denature the virus, preventing further infection. If the fever is unable to denature the virus like it has in Sheila's case, that's when infection occurs.
Now let's take a look at the more inner workings of the immune system. Once the rhinovirus is inside the cell, macrophages come and find these viruses and engulf them. Once the viruses are engulfed, they are put into vesicles inside the macrophage. These vesicles are then fused with lysosomes. The lysosomes cut up and degrade the viruses inside the macrophage. Dendritic cells are very similar to this. The virus comes in, and the dendritic cells are found on things like the skin, and they will come up and engulf the virus and then degrade it on the inside in a lysosome. Dendritic cells and macrophages are both part of the non-specific immunity or innate immunity of the immune system. The skin and mucous membranes of the body also make up the nonspecific immunity or innate immunity of the immune system. These rhinoviruses are a type of pathogens. On them, they have antigens. The antigens is any part of the pathogen that lets cells in the body ID it as a pathogen. The word antigen means antibody generator. Antibodies are created by B cells. These antibodies don't kill viruses or any other pathogens, but they'll stick to it and inhibit it from infecting any other cells. These antibodies also mark the virus, telling other cells that it is bad and foreign and should be killed. Specific or acquired immunity is carried out by lymphocytes. The two different types of lymphocytes are B cells and T cells. B cells start in the bone marrow and mature there. T cells also start in the bone marrow, but they mature in the thymus. These cells carry out two different types of responses. One is called cell-mediated response. Cell-mediated response is when the cells are already infected. T cells are part of the cell-mediated response. T cells recognize the antigens that are on macrophages after the macrophages deteriorate and destroy these viruses. Once they have destroyed the viruses, they hold out the antigens on the outside of the cell for helper T cells to recognize. This is called antigen presentation. When the helper T cell recognizes this antigen presentation, it binds to it. This activates the helper T cell, and then it makes duplicates of itself. These duplicates are memory T cells and cytotoxic T cells. We're going to look at two different types of cell receptors on the T cell. One is CD4 and the other is CD8. The CD8 protein specifically binds to any MHC1 molecules. The CD4 protein specifically binds to any MHC2 molecules. All cells in the body have class MHC1 molecules on them, but when a cell is infected by a virus, such as the rhinovirus, it shows not only their class MHC1 molecules, but also class MHC2 molecules. When a cell is infected, Its MHC2 molecule is recognized by cytotoxic T cells. These cytotoxic T cells then release what are called cytokines. These cytokines come out and start attaching to the cell and breaking the cell apart. The infected cell then starts to die, as shown here. Humoral immunity is the other type of response. That is when the pathogen is in the bloodstream but is not infected cells yet. Memory B cells roam around the bloodstream looking for any pathogens. Any pathogens will bind to the specific antigen receptor that is on the B cell. These B cells, once connected to the antigen, present their MHC2 molecule. Helper T cells will then bind to this MHC2 molecule and activate the B cell. The B cell will then go on to reproduce more of itself. Some of itself being memory B cells, which already have the same antigen receptor on it, but most of what it produces will be plasma B cells. These plasma B cells just start creating this antibody, which roams around. These antigens will then bind to these antibodies. These antibodies will inhibit them from bonding to any cells, and they will also mark them to be killed by any phagocytes. And these phagocytes will come along and destroy the rhinovirus. The skin and
Virus, preventing further infection. Hold on.
And the cytotoxic T cells. So, oh no, I'll cut this out.
You're talking.
Let me go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, I'm talking. I forgot.
Put X's over your Okay.